The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Onyx Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code MLB SGPN, get $1,000 in bonus credits. We're also brought to you by Edge Booster. Get up to $750 in cashback rewards each month when you sign up at edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. I'm currently your host for this episode, Scott Reichel, joined by Lonte Smith. And together, we're going to break down another award, getting into the Manager of the Year award. So we're going to get into both leagues, the American League and the National League, talking about which managers might be in, I'd say, strong contention to win a trophy at the end of the season, to basically showcase how good the season might have been for the respective team, or how much an improvement they might have had. Either way, though, Lonte, how's it going with you? We haven't really done the show together in a while, so hopefully things are good.
Yeah, man, pretty good. Inching closer to the season. We got the games from Japan out of the way, so on to the actual season, I guess, if you want to say that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, well, I do want to ask you, since you brought it up, what do you think of the two Japan games? Were you awake for any of them?
Actually, I caught the third or fourth inning of each, but I mean, the Dodgers just doing what the Dodgers do. Although that first game was not really as, I guess it wasn't really a blowout as it pertained to the score. Just like a throwing error kind of got away from them. And I think they pulled, the Cubs pulled my guy too soon. Imanaga, they pulled him a little too soon. He was dealing. But outside of that, man, I mean, the Dodgers just a freight train, bro. Like without Mookie, without Freddie, like they were a freight train.
Yep, that was kind of my takeaway, too. I did not watch a second of those two games, just to be clear. I was in Vegas, so no, that just wasn't going to happen. Just based on, the amount of sleep or the lack thereof I was getting. I had to get whatever I could. So I ended up missing the two baseball games. Dodgers won those, you said before. Freeman and Mookie did not play in either, and they won anyway. So either way, point is Dodgers are off to a good start. Anyway, time to get into the actual breakdown of the two Manager of the Year awards. We're going to start off with a trivia question for you, Lonte. Putting you on the spot. Since 2006, how many managers in the American League or the National League have won back-to-back Manager of the Year awards?
Back-to-back?
Since 2006.
One. That was Cash in 20 and 21, I think.
That is correct. The answer is one. It was Kevin Cash. That is correct.
Yeah, I just remember it was the COVID season, shortened season, and then they had that good year the following year. So it kind of, I mean, it's technically a back-to-back, but it's technically not, like, because of the shortened season. But yeah, I remember Cash winning it back-to-back.
According to the years here, it says 2020, 2021. So you get bonus points for getting the years right on that one. But Cash was the only guy to do it in basically 20 years. Before that, you had Bobby Cox, who did it in 2004 and 2005. So in other words, it's not impossible for Voit and for Murphy to win it again, but it's extremely unlikely.
Yeah.
And as you said before, there was a tie-in to a pretty rare season that was 60 games. So once again, if you are picking an outright winner for this award, you might want to stay away from Voit and you might want to stay away from Murphy. Is that a fair, I'd say, takeaway from that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just think that it's obviously tougher to do. And I mean, especially in that division, which me and D-Rock just finished up. So if you didn't go see that preview or listen to that preview, make sure you do that. But yeah, in a division that's pretty much up for grabs. I mean, and I think there's going to be a lot of regression in that division as well. So yeah, I would stay away from the back-to-back or the year after kind of guys. I cross those guys out immediately. So.
Yeah, but wanted to mention that because I thought it was worth pointing out. So anyway, time to get into the American League. We're going to do first. The favorite in the market is A.J. Hinch. You have Dan Wilson as the co-favorite at 5-1. You have Cora at 7-1. You have Cash at 8-1. You have Kotze at 8-1 as well. You have Bochy at 8-1. Baldelli at 8-1. You have Schneider at 10-1. Ron Washington at 12-1. You have Quattraro at around 14-1. You have Voit at 16-1, Hyde at 18-1, Boone at 18-1. You have Espada at 25-1, and you have Venable at 30-1. So, Lonte, I'm going to ask you first, out of the short favorite list, let's say from like the 8-1 range, is there anybody that you're interested in that price range?
Short. Yeah, I would be interested in what is Bodie 8-1, right? Rocco?
So
Baldelli, I'm
Baldelli
sorry.
is
Yeah,
8-1.
yeah, I would be interested in him simply because I'm a little higher on the Twins, and I think if they can put it together offensively and health wise, their ceiling is kind of the top of the top. So I'll tell you what I do usually with pretty much every coach of the year market, and I think you maybe agree. I don't know, maybe you don't, but they generally get this right, like with the list. Like a lot of stuff is kind of debatable, but I think time in and time out, like on a yearly basis, they get this specific award right with less debate, simply because it's easier to quantify. You want to go for a team who's going to number one, exceed their win total. Number two, exceed their expectations coming into the year. So obviously, we can mark off teams like the Dodgers. Boone should never be in consideration. The obviously the White Sox, no. Some of the bottom tier teams, I think you can mark those guys out, and then some of the more, I guess, prestige managers you can kind of rule out as well. So that's kind of like the process that I go through when I'm doing this stuff. And you want to look for teams who are going to be on the ascend. The Tigers, obviously, AJ Hinch was the co-favorite last year. I think he was around the same price last year, if I'm not mistaken. And the Tigers are expected to go to that next level as of what they finished with, as a result of what they finished with last year. So I think, I think the Twins have a high ceiling. I mean, obviously they got to win that division, and if they hit the top of their ceiling, they get some help that good. I'm not like crazy about their rotation, but if everything breaks right in that division, I think it's going to be a lot of regression. I think at 8-1, he's got some decent value there.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Cora at 7-1. Now the problem is the Red Sox actually spent some money this offseason. So you could argue that getting Bregman and stuff's going to help, and maybe that'll take away credit from Cora. The Red Sox were pretty good for about the first half of last year. They fell off a cliff, and now they're projected to be a playoff team. So if you do think that the Yankees are going to be struggling because of injuries, maybe Baltimore also with Grayson being on the shelf, we'll see how they look as well. There is a path for Boston to win that division. And if Boston does go from missing the playoffs to winning that division, I think there's a good price for Cora at around 7-1. Not to mention the fact that Boston, I do think, is viewed, of course, in a certain, I'd say, dark horse candidate perspective where there's potential there to be really good, but they have shown flashes of it. They haven't fully pieced it together. And if they can do it for a full 162, then I do think Cora will be in serious consideration. Not to mention the fact that Cora, despite being of course, World Series champion, manager, he has actually never won the award. So if you want to make an argument that he's one of the best managers in the entire league, and yet he still does not have this award, there could be a narrative built in where everyone knows how good Cora is, and now there's actually a reason to give it to him. I think the script makes a lot of sense for Cora. If you are low on the AL East and you do think that the Red Sox will be a serious contender in that division, maybe pushing 90 wins, I think Cora's name has to be mentioned there because I do think that he is definitely a very solid manager. I think we'd agree with that. And the fact is, with the injuries to the Orioles and to the Yankees, basically in the main competition, even Tampa, because McClanahan got injured today, you're looking at a pretty good spot. Wait, what?
I didn't see that. What happened?
He left early. He hurt his arm. So I don't know how long McClanahan is going to be out, but the point is the Rays might be in trouble. So a lot of teams around the Red Sox are getting injured, which definitely helps their chances of winning that division. But you're looking at Cora, who is a 3-time champion, 1 time as a player, 2 times as a manager, and you can definitely make the argument that he is worthy of getting this award based on his reputation. Because we know that he is actually he won it 1 time as a manager, apologies. But still, you know what I'm trying to say. He's a World Series champion manager who's never won this award. It would make sense for the voters to give it to him if he's in consideration. That would be my choice. Hinch as a co-favorite makes no sense to me, and I wanted to mention it because Detroit made the playoffs last year. They went around last year. They gave the Guardians a run for their money in the following playoff round. Why would Hinch win this award? Like, I feel like the Tigers made their leap last year when they went from kind of being a laughingstock to being a playoff team, winning a round in the playoffs. Why would Hinch win this award unless they won like 95 games? I don't know if the leap's going to be there or not.
Yeah, I think that's the only pathway to win. Mid 90s, even high 80s, depending on how the rest of the division looks. And if they run away with the division, they still have offensive struggles. Like it's still a big question about that offense. And I mean, the pitching is great. Don't get me wrong, but
they got Glaber. Does that count?
Yeah, not really.
Just saying.
They're gonna need a little bit more. But yeah, I mean that's the only path that I can see. But I agree with you. But I'm just saying, like, I can kind of see why he's the favorite just because of the hot stuff. I mean, they finished really hot, and it's a chance that they could win 90 games if everything goes right, 90 plus games. And with that division being what it is, like a crapshoot, I can see it. But he was marked off my list as well. Just too short of. I mean, I never bet like the top 2 or 3 guys because the season's so long. They're probably gonna go on a losing streak here and there, just like all teams outside of the Dodgers, Braves, and some of those elite teams who don't have big losing streaks often. But you could probably find him later on double digits. If I'm not like, I would bet that you would find him double digits somewhere or another. Or if they get off to a slow start, stuff like that, you can kind of come back with him. That's usually how I play it when it comes to a lot of these awards, but specifically Manager of the Year, because I mean it's basically just a team award. Like the manager,
It's the most team. It's the most improved
basically,
team award.
basically, like who's the manager on the most improved team or a dominant team. Like I think although I don't think it's possible, but if the Dodgers like scream through like the all-time wins record, like
if they win like 115, then like maybe
like I would say like 1/3 between like 111 and 115, like, and it looks as dominant as the record is, like it's a chance that he can win it.
I mean, I guess, but that's kind of why I don't see the ceiling being there for Detroit. Like if they win 90 games after winning 80 something last year, is that enough of an improvement? Probably not.
Yeah,
like I just don't think it's worth anything. So I do want to ask you though about one other guy. I want to ask you about Bochy because I think he's in a weird spot because he won the World Series 2 years ago. They were awful last year. They had expectations. They were supposed to be really good, defending World Series champions, and they were brutal for the entire season. So if Bochy gets them back to, like, let's say 90-something wins, Houston, we know they traded away Kyle Tucker. They're never going to go away, but Altuve's playing the outfield. It's probably not a good sign. The point is we'll see if Houston takes a full step back or not. That division, though, is not great. You have Seattle, who we know can never hit. The Angels are a laughingstock, and the A's are trying to be better. Still not very good, but you know what I'm trying to say. I feel like Bochy's in a weird spot, and I wanted to ask if you think that he actually has a decent chance to win this. Because if last year was a fluke, and Texas is back to being a 90-win team that can potentially be a dark horse candidate to win the World Series, the win total leap will be there. Because they were really bad last year. But I can tell if the voters are going to give the credit to Bochy, or if they're just going to view last year as a fluke. So what do you think?
Maybe a combination of both, but this was like one of my second choices simply because of what you just said. Like, I think they'll be improved. They had some bad injury luck. Is DeGrom good? Like, I mean, obviously he's never really good.
As of right now, he's healthy. So let's assume let's go with 100 innings.
Yeah, I mean,
as a guess.
If he can, like they got a nice rotation. Obviously, they got the young guys who were contributing in that World Series run, and they kind of came back down to earth a little bit during that regular season. But man, I think he's got a shot if this team can improve. I would say 95 wins, depending on what goes on, obviously, in the rest of the AL. I think he'll get a lot of credit for that, just simply because he had a down year last year, and he's going to come back to the pack and be one of the better teams in the AL. So yeah, I think he has a shot.
Yeah, I think those are my main two guys, Cora and Bochy for that one. You want to ask you though, any long shots you're tempted by? We'll say 10-1 or higher.
10-1 or higher. I mean, I'm a sucker for this team all the time. I mean, the Blue Jays, 10-1. I mean, I'm saying it, the team and not the manager, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I mean, they got the guys, man. They just got to put it together. I mean, the division is winnable. You brought that up. If they can, sustain some type of consistency, I mean, they always got a shot. I mean, and they weren't good the past few years, so it's not like they're, if they can jump that win total to what was their win? What did they win last year?
I know it was definitely not good. But let me just quickly check what Toronto.
So if they can, so if they can spin that up, 10, 15 wins, they got a shot. They got a shot. So that would be my other one, 10-1. I think he's 10-1 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So if you wanted to look at Toronto last year, just by comparison, Toronto was 74 and 88.
Yeah. So if they can get 85 to 88 wins, that's considerable.
That's fair. I mean, I feel like a playoff spot's probably required, so a
Yeah,
wild card spot at
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
85, 86 might be good enough, but I didn't see many long shots. Like, I thought about maybe going for Quattraro, but the problem is Kansas City was good last year. It's the same issue that the AJ Hinch argument had, where the team already kind of put themselves on the map. So why would I pick them to win Manager of the year after? I didn't really see much for the long shot. You could argue maybe Boone, with all the injuries the Yankees have, if they can stay afloat, but I feel like that's a serious stretch. I wouldn't
Yeah.
make that argument, but you lose Soto, you lose a couple of key pieces. Cole's probably going to be out. Cole is out for the season. You're looking at
Mhm.
Stan being out indefinitely, Heels out indefinitely. Like, if the
Jesus.
Yankees actually end up like with 90 wins in a wild card spot, you can make an argument for Boone. I
Yeah,
don't
you
think Boone's a
can.
good manager, but there's an
Yeah.
argument there with all the injuries and losing Soto. Of course, they got
Yeah.
Max Free. They got a couple other pieces instead.
Yeah.
But I think Boone has an argument. I wouldn't vote for him, but there could be a potential case to be made with all the injuries they've had preseason. Is that fair?
Definitely 100% fair. And I think like we all, obviously we're Yankee fans. Everybody already knows. So,
Yeah.
and I think we are objective Yankee fans, not like the
We are
some of the
not
other.
Aaron Boone fans at all. And
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, nah,
yes, this team
def-
made the World Series last year, but with all the
yeah,
turnover with the roster and all the
yeah,
injuries,
yeah.
I do think Boone being decent enough to get them into the playoffs could get them
It's,
into consideration for the award,
yeah,
but I don't
yeah,
see him winning it.
yeah. But if he can get like 90 mid 90s
Yeah.
wins, and you get a couple guys to show, which it happens every year on just about every team. It's a couple guys who come out of nowhere. Definitely going to have to get some help with that rotation for sure. I mean, the bats are going to be what the bats are, with guys in and out of the lineup. But if he can get the pitching staff, I mean, the pitching rotation pretty decent, and get some of those younger guys to come up and hit consistently, then I do think he has a shot. I do think he has a shot. I mean, the media doesn't. The media loves a New York story. So, um, and we know the Mets on the other side of town are, the popular team that everybody's talking about. And if he goes in and wins more games than those guys, playoff spot, contended for that division, which we think is up in the air, I think he has. It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot.
I'm not saying it's going to win, but 18-1, you can make an argument if the Yankees win this division with all the injuries they've
If
had.
they win the division, he's getting it. If they win
And the point is, the Yankees' division odds are significantly lower than 16 or 18-1. So if you
yeah,
think that the Yankees have a decent chance to win this division, then I'd rather take Manager of the Year at a much better price.
yeah. If he wins the division, he's getting it.
So once again, I feel like that might be worth a flyer, but I know
Yeah,
both of us don't like Aaron Boone at all. So I
yeah.
wanted to mention that
Yeah,
because there's
for
a
the record.
potential script there for him. Anyway, before we get into the actual National League Manager of the Year award, I want to remind once again, they're brought to you by DraftKings, because DraftKings is the place to bet on March Mania, college basketball, when it comes to upsets, when it comes to, once again, Cinderella's advancing, buzzer beaters, etc. Top seeds going home early, like St. John's, for example. It's all going to happen, and you can bet the unexpected every day, every upset with DraftKings Sportsbook, with live betting, exclusive content, promos, and parlays. DraftKings is the ultimate college basketball destination for March. First time, that's okay. Something special for you. New customers can get a great promo, but $5 get $2 bonus instantly. So once again, a great deal when you sign up with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app, use code SGP. Code SGP for new customers to get $200 bonus instantly. When bet just $5 only DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
We're also brought to you by Rhythm, because Rhythm is the home for AI picks and props. Rhythm's already off to a great start this March and helping you dominate March Madness, building your own custom models easy and profitable. I want to say that somebody tailed the first round picks that Rhythm suggested, and the bracket was 30-2. I think I saw that on Instagram. So once again, if you're using Rhythm for your actual picks, you've done very well for yourself. I back
That's
Rhythm's
ATS.
no, that's just for the sake
Oh,
of
straight up.
making a
Okay, okay,
bracket.
okay, okay, okay.
But I know that I had the under in the Illinois game yesterday and the under in the Purdue game today because of Rhythm. So overall, nice job by Rhythm helping me out there. But a reminder, if you do want to try it out for free, sign up today for 7-day free trial at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Rhythm, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RETHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Finished breaking down the American League Manager of the Year award. Now it's time to move on into the National League. So for the actual odds for the National League here, you have the favorite in the market being none other than Terry Francona, who's back out of basically retirement as he joined the Reds. You have Craig Counsell, you have Derek Shelton, you have Roberts. So to go through the odds, by the way, Francona's at 4-1, Counsell's at 425, Shelton's at 7-1, you have Roberts at 7-1, which I think is an absolute donation. We'll get into that in a second. You have Dave Martinez at 10-1. You have Melvin at 11-1. You have Arizona, their manager, being at 11-1 as well. You have Shield at 13-1. You have Mendoza at 14-1. You have Snitker at 14-1 as well. Pat Murphy said before, won last year, is 15-1 again. You have Rob Thompson at 16-1. You have Marmol at 30-1. You have McCullough at 30-1, and you have Bud Black at 30-1. So, same thing, and then we did for the American League. I'm going to ask you, Lonte, out of the short favorites, we'll say below 10-1, you have 4 names right now. Are there any that you're considering? You can say no. That's fine. You can say no.
Yeah, I'm really not. My favorite, I'll tell you my favorite one. I mean, we went over the Dodgers thing with their path to Roberts winning it, but my favorite one is Snitker with the Braves, simply because of the bad injury look. He had 3 or 4 guys who kind of regressed a little bit, and I think that they are way better than what those numbers suggest last year. He's going to get Strider back. He's going to get Acuna back in, I think, like May-ish. I think April, May is when they were expected to be back. So, granted any setbacks, obviously they're going to, bring those guys along slower. But I think the lineup will be a lot more potent than it was last year. The pitching obviously is going to be good. You're going to go from, when Strider's healthy, you're going to go Strider, Sale, Lopez. Swellenbach is really good. I just think that the Braves, man, they're like one of my favorite teams to kind of root for outside of our Yankees. But
they're fun. They score a bunch of runs, hit a bunch of home runs.
Definitely, and I think they had a weird year last year. I think they were in a weird spot, had a weird year, a lot of injuries. I think Albies missed like 55, 60 games.
Acuna barely played.
Yeah,
Strider's arm fell off. They had a lot of injuries early on.
Right. So I think they're going to positively regress here. So I like him to win the award. I know he's 10-1, but that's my favorite one out of the bunch.
He was actually 14-1.
Wow,
but
really?
I am going to push back on that a little bit because I feel like I question how much credit Snitker's going to get when all of the injured players from last year come back and maybe perform. Like, you're looking at Strider. I don't know how many innings he's going to pitch this season, but he's viewed as being a potential Cy Young guy every year. We know Acuna won the MVP. Would they give Snitker credit for that, or would they just say, well, they're healthy, so of course they won 90?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I can't even, I don't have a rebuttal for it. That's a great point.
Okay, I believe that's called checkmate in chess. But anyway, point is, Francona's in a weird spot because he joined the Reds, but the issue is he's already won this award 3 times. And I understand that he's with a new team and he had some health issues, etc. Do I really think he'd win it 4 times? Like, I don't think that he will. I get why he's favored because the Reds are supposed to be a potential dark horse in a really bad division. Mm-hmm. I get that. Same thing for Counsell. I know they're favored to win the division, but that NL Central is a joke every year. Or at least it's
I don't think they'll win it though.
Every year. I mean, Milwaukee's supposed to take a step back. We'll see, but you know what I'm trying to say though. Like, I feel like at 4-1 and 425 in the same division, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Now Roberts, we talked about before. I think he is a 0% chance of winning because even if they break the record for wins, they're just going to give Ohtani and Betts and Freeman and everybody all the credit anyway. So I don't know if it actually matters. And if they're going to give Roberts any of the credit. So that's kind of why I find the National League a lot harder to call than the American League. But the lowest 3 odds with Francona, Counsell, and Shelton are all in the same division. So it's like whoever wins the NL Central is going to win the award, and I don't really believe that. I think that is definitely not worth gambling on. I'd rather back that team to win the division. Why would I bet the manager if I don't even know if they're going to pull it off? So I think that the top 3 choices, or the lowest 3 odds, I should say, are really not worth anything. Same thing with Roberts. At 7-1, way too low when you have the best roster in the league off of a World Series title. I just don't see him getting much credit for it. Now, Martinez, if the Nationals are competitive, then you can make an argument. Will they be competitive? Probably not. Bob Melvin, I don't think he's going to win it. That's going to take me to Arizona's manager, and I think Arizona is a solid baseball team. So
You think Arizona has a shot to be like kind of top 3, top 4 in the NL?
That's the problem you're running into, is that they're not going to beat the Dodgers because nobody's going to. So do I think a wild card manager is going to actually win the award? I think that Arizona is going to be good. I do make the argument that the Padres might take a step back. I know Darvish is injured again. We'll see what happens there. A lot of pitcher injuries, by the way, so far in training. But I would make the case for I don't want to completely butcher the name. Lavolo. Is how you pronounce that? Lavolo.
Lavolo, I guess. Lavolo?
Yeah, either way. If I'm messing that up, apologies. But you know what I'm trying to say. Arizona, I think, is going to be a solid team. And you could argue that if they can maybe get into the 90-win range, they'll get some consideration. But I don't see them win the division. It's like it's really tough for me to make an argument. So I feel like I'm kind of stuck in this overall award because I don't see many guys I'm really tempted by that can actually get the job done. So I'm going to ask you, are there anybody that you actually want to take? Because you mentioned Snitker, and I kind of rained on your parade.
Yeah, I still would take him though. Just the upside is there, and if they have an outlier year, like they're a fun team. They're on a bunch of primetime games. I mean, not that it matters in the MLB, but I think he's the only guy. I mean, I have no idea why Francona and Shelton are that small, because
Francona I get, because Francona has the history and he took some time off, and like there's some health stuff there. So there's a narrative to it. But
but I don't think the Reds are going to take that big of a leap. Like, I mean, but maybe I'm wrong. And the Pirates, I mean, like the Pirates, I get it with the rotation, but even Jared Jones now, he's having arm trouble. So I think he's getting a second opinion. So you're just basically, you got one ace basically, like Skeens. That's it, and that lineup is not good enough to win. I mean, the obvious one is the Mets if everything goes right, but their pitching rotation is horrible.
I mean, is that obvious though? Because I feel like they'd give Soto all the credit.
I mean, like again, back with the New York media thing. If you're, the fun team winning a bunch of games, yeah, maybe, but like I just feel like that narrative will get overshined a little bit in the media, and they'll give at least some credit to the manager, and the offseason acquisition of Soto is just going to be like icing on the cake. But yeah, that's the only other one that I can think of. This one is a tough one.
I mean, I'm going to ask, do you think the Giants will be decent? Because Melvin's at 11-1. You could argue that if they make a wild card spot, he's got a shot, but I don't think they're going to be good.
Yeah, I don't know about what does their rotation consist of? Like,
what's their lineup consist of?
That
they
too,
don't have much of anything.
But I mean, the Giants are a middling team. Like, I don't know. I think they'll be like good to bet on a week-to-week basis, but long term, nah. I mean, and the Nationals, I like the Nationals. I like some of the youth they got in their lineup, but again,
that division's so tough though with those three teams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, and you're gonna play majority of your games inside that division. So, I know it's gonna sound crazy. What do you think about the Marlins?
I mean, it's the same argument we just had with the Nationals, that you have the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies in the same division, so you're probably fighting for fourth place.
Lower expectations, though.
That's correct. The problem is the Marlins didn't spend money on anybody in free agency, so they didn't actually improve anything. They got Alcantara back from injury, but like they didn't do anything to improve the team.
Yeah, and I felt like in certain spots of the season to end the year, they were fighting really, really hard, and they were battling. Obviously, just didn't have enough talent, but get some guys coming up from the farm system, and they hit on a few of those guys and get in the rhythm. I'm just speaking out loud, like I'm not, like recommending it, but
I get it. Once again, I think the American League one was a lot easier than the National League one, but
yeah, it's tough.
I do think, honestly, the more that we talked about the candidates and how I was kind of eliminating them as we went,
Arizona?
I think. No, Arizona I was going to take anyway, because I do think Arizona is going to be good. And Arizona was a team that did end up going. They won 89 games last year, though. Like that's such a solid season anyway. Like that's so tough. They didn't make the playoffs though, so you could argue maybe that'll be a step. But I think I talked myself into Francona. I don't feel good about it. I understand it's a cheap price. There's a narrative there with the health issues, and on top of that, if the Reds, who ended up winning 77 games last year, if they make the playoffs but don't win the division, is that enough for Francona to win, or do you think he has to win the division?
I think if he doesn't win it, it's got to be damn close. Damn close. Maybe 3 to 5 games in between.
That's kind of the point, though, is that the Reds won 77 games last year. So if you're looking at them winning 86 this year, is a 9-win bump enough? It might be.
Maybe playoffs and, you're jockeying for that division lead. Yeah, maybe. I can see it.
I just don't know.
I feel like he can make a case for a ton of these guys.
Literally,
we can go down the line of each one and make the case. The Cubs, if they're the favorite in that division, if they go in and they dominate that division, which we know is a crapshoot of a division, then I can see why he's the favorite. But again, you can just make pros and cons to anything, but specifically in this specific market, you can make pros and cons to each of these guys. And I don't think it's a real clear favorite or clear choice, which, honestly, to some bettors, it makes, it's more value because you can get, some of these guys at longer prices and, in between the season, get on and get off some other guys. So it's more volatile, I guess, is the word I was looking for. But
the council price annoys me, though, because it's the same price as Francona, but his team's favored to win the division.
Right.
They have a higher win total by 3-4 wins than every other team.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
I understand, if the Cubs win the division, that looks good on paper, but the preseason expectations are you're the best team. So you should be doing it.
Right.
So that's kind of the tricky part. So if you think winning the division's enough, then you should go with, in my opinion, the Cubs manager in, of course, council, because they should win the division. But I think Francona's got a path, whether they win the division or not. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's
so
fair.
I kind of talk myself into Francona. I'm probably not going to bet it, but that's the main favorite that I'll go with. And the Arizona manager I mentioned, but they won 89 games last year. Even the Giants we talked about, they won 80 games. It feels like they won 60, but they won 80 somehow. I don't know how big of a jump they're going to have either. So I'll go with Francona. It's pure chalk, but I don't really like anybody else. The only long shot I'll give out, yes, this team should be bad, and I think he's a bad manager. However, we talked about the NL Central. Council's at 425. Shelton's at 70. Shelton's at 7-1. You have Francona at 4-1. I got to talk about Marmol. 30-1. Really? Every other team in that division, your manager is 7-1 or lower, and you're at 30-1. You lost Goldschmidt. Yes, your team's supposed to be really bad. I get it. But the point is, the Cardinals last year, by reference, ended up winning 83 games. They were okay last year. If the Cardinals can find a way to win the division, 30-1, I think Marmol would get consideration. I don't think he's a good manager. But the fact is, you can't give me 4 of the 5 teams in that division having odds of 7-1 or lower, and you have one guy sitting in the corner at 30-1. Isn't that kind of nuts?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Based on price, I don't think he's good, but based on price, 30-1 is insane.
Yeah. Price wise, I follow you. I just think they're going to be one of the worst teams in this league. I bet they're all under as well.
Okay.
But yeah, but price wise, you're completely spot on with everything
in that crazy division.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. I just can't get behind it because I don't think that they're going to be good at all or even close to it.
I don't think they're going to be good either, but I guess the question is,
I can see the path as far as what you're saying, with the price. I can see it.
If we agree that the Nationals, by comparison, and the Marlins are going to finish behind the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mets, do we agree on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So based on that, if we're comparing odds, you're getting 3 times the price for Marmol in that division compared to what could be, or most likely, a 4th place team with either Roberts or Miami. I'm not saying Marmol's going to win it, but 30-1 is kind of insane, isn't it? They won 83 games last year. They weren't awful. I thought, you look back on that Cardinals team last year, and you think they were terrible, and they were second in the division.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff was while I was under them. It was they got extremely fortunate, but
yeah, they did.
Again, that doesn't show up in the win-loss record. It shows up in the advanced stuff. But yeah, completely agree with you though. Yeah, I'm completely there with you.
I'm just saying, if you see a bunch of NL Central teams stumble like they always do,
always, yeah,
30-1. I'd rather have 30-1 on Marmol than 7-1 on Shelton. Do we agree on that?
Definitely agree.
So that'll be my donation of the show. I think Boone has a path once again. I'm not saying Marmol's going to get there, but if the Cardinals are decent and they end up making the playoffs somehow with their preseason expectations or the lack thereof.
They got some guys that I like, man. If they can just be consistent, like
they lost Goldschmidt too, who's been like an MVP winner for them. Like there are some narrative pieces there that if you end up losing some guys and are able to hold serve, you can potentially get there. Once again, the NL Manager of the Year award is really not a great market this year, in my opinion. I didn't see many options, but I think if you want to go for anybody for a long shot, Marmol would be my choice. But I'll go with Francona at 4-1. Do I like it? Not really. But I do think that there's a couple ways the Reds can make the playoffs, and Francona would get it because of the narrative and because he's he's beloved, if we're being honest here. He's a beloved manager for 20 years. So I do think that the voters like him, and that could be enough because he's already won it 3 times. So I'll go with Francona, and I'll go with Marmol as my super long shot. Anyway, before we get into the best bets of the actual episode, want to remember once again they're brought to you by Underdog because they have a great pick'em, and you can win up to 100 times your money if you do the pick'em. And a reminder, you can also get a great deal with Underdog when you sign up with the promo code MLB SGPN. To claim a special credit first time deposit offer up to 1K bonus cash on your fantasy promo code MLB SGPN. We're also brought to you by EdgeBoost. A reminder, EdgeBoost is the premier Visa debit card for bettors. You can also use the card to avoid having your card denied at the sportsbook or DFS site. You can also earn cash rewards, $70 per month in cash rewards by using the EdgeBoost card. Your money is also saved to cards, FCC insured, and best card and credit checks fully free. Sign up, though, today at edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Finished breaking down the AL and the NL Manager of the Year award markets. Now it's time for the best bets. Lonte, I want you to go first. What is your best bet for the manager? You don't need one for AL and NL, just in general. What would be your favorite manager from either league to win the award?
I'm going with Rocco for the Twins.
Okay.
I think they'll win that division. All health has to be good for them. Just their top end talent is it's so much higher than anybody else's top end talent offensively, especially in that division. So they're actually favored to win the division, but plus money to make the playoffs, which is so weird. Just goes to show you how crapshooty that division is. But so let's go with Rocco Baldelli to win it. You can get double digits on that as well. So that's my favorite one out of both conferences.
Okay. For mine, I'm torn between either Cora or Bochy, and I got to figure out which one I want to do. By the way, Baldelli was at 8-1.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna bet Bochy though. I'm definitely gonna bet Bochy.
Bochy actually has won a Manager of the Year award before in 1996. So it's been basically 20 years. Cora's never won one before, but the Rangers we know were, objectively bad. So I feel like you make an argument that the pendulum might swing back in favor of the Rangers after winning the World Series. They ended up winning a grand total of 78 games last year. The Red Sox, by comparison, won 81. I think I'm going to go with the Cora play, actually, because I do see a pretty good path for Boston to win that division. I understand Texas can, too. Yep. Seattle, will see how they're going to look. They can never hit, but the pitching should be fine, even though Kirby, I think, is injured. Houston never goes.
How many people are not injured? That's what we probably need to go over.
Houston never goes away, which is going to be, an annoying whatever. But when you're looking at the Yankees' injuries and Baltimore's injuries and Tampa's injuries now, and Boston having a World Series winning manager who's never won this award before, and the Red Sox spent. They got Bregman. They got some bullpen help. I know Chapman made the roster. Good for him. You get my point, though. Boston made some improvements during the offseason, and their manager is viewed as being objectively elite. Do we agree on that? Cora being a World Series, elite manager?
Yeah, I agree. I just think his price, I wonder what he opened at.
Yeah, I think my point, though, is that Bochy has won it before. I wonder if there's going to be a narrative push that Cora's won a World Series, he's viewed as a top 5 manager in the league, and he's never won the award that says he's the best manager in the league. So I feel like it makes sense for Cora. I am going to go with, once again, a fade of the AL East with all the injuries to key pieces. Give me Cora as my main choice there at 7-1. Anyway, Lonte, that's going to wrap it up for the actual breakdown. Anything else you want to add?
That's about it, man. We're getting closer to opening day, so looking forward to that.
Yes, I believe opening day is next Thursday.
Yep.
Keep that in mind. So we're going to be back with the usual daily episode schedule starting on Wednesday night. So keep that in mind. I haven't decided who's going to be doing each episode. It really doesn't matter to me. So point is, I will, I guess, ask around and see who's available for some days. But if you want the actual daily episodes again for games, those will start on Wednesday onward until the end of the season. Anyway, find me on Twitter, Reichel Radio. Find him on Twitter, XXLonteXX. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.